The film director Baz Luhrmann is undoubtedly one of Australia's great cultural success stories. But from his first film, Strictly Ballroom, he's always polarised critics, and his new movie, an adaptation of the revered American novel The Great Gatsby, is no different. But while the reviews have been mixed, the box office is staggering. The film will clock $100 million in the United States less than 3 weeks after opening, and on that front, it's already easily Baz Luhrmann's most successful movie ever. The director sat down with me in Sydney today to talk about the critics who don't rate him, the pressure of creative risk-taking, and the changing way Australia treats celebrities. Baz Luhrmann, great to have you on the program.
I'm always happy to be on it.
Every Australian of a certain era seems to have read The Great Gatsby for high school.
Sure.
Did you have to, or do you remember when you first read it?
No, I don't actually remember reading it for high school. Maybe I was running away or absconding, but I do remember my father was running the local cinema for a while, and I remember seeing Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid with Robert Redford and thinking, now that man is the coolest man in the world. But it was when I saw Gatsby, I was about 12. And I remember thinking, it's beautiful, but I don't really understand who Gatsby is.
Who is this Gatsby?
He was a German spy during the war.
Teddy Barton, Nick Carraway.
A German spy?
No. He's the Kaiser's assassin.
I heard he killed a man once.
It's true. Kills for fun, free of charge. He's certainly richer than God.
Given that Gatsby is considered to be, the great American novel, did you have any anxiety about taking it on?
Well, I think the American film industry has taken on most of the great novels in the world, from War and Peace. What about Thornbirds? Maybe it's payback for Thornbirds. But I think that I didn't have trepidation about that. I thought it's a universal novel that speaks to us all. Anything that's great is relevant in any time, any place, anyhow.
You said in another interview that I read that for some reason I'm wedded to risk. What did you mean?
I don't set out to do things that are risky. I just go, gee, the musical, of course it can work. And I always start out thinking, this isn't going to be a very big deal, reinventing the musical. Like, people will go, yeah, that's a great idea. Why don't you do that? Then, of course, you set about, how do you do it? Then, it hits the press and there's all that noise. But I don't try and be controversial or try and be, part of that noise. It's just I want the musical to live, or I think The Great Gatsby speaks to us now and I'd love to reveal the book. It starts that simply.
Are you somebody who's always working right on the edge and pushing yourself up to the edge of what you consider your capabilities to be?
Well, I don't start out that way, but I always end up there. Like, definitely in the process of making this movie, many a day, most days went, I just don't think I can do this again. When people go at this young child, this film we've made as it goes off to school, I'm one thing, because, I'm kind of used to it. I grew up at school with derision and I'm used to it. Doesn't make it any less. But I think about all the believing people. I think about the intensely working, passionate crews here in Sydney. And I don't want them to feel like they backed the wrong horse.
When you look at what you've done with Gatsby and you sort of see the creativity and the level of, you can clearly see how much you've put into it yourself. It must just be brutal to have to then put it out and wait to see, do people see it? Do people like it?
Yeah, on the way to the people are the pundits and the commentators. Now, I'm used to mixed reviews.
You get that all the time?
All the time.
Including
from Strictly
this
Ballroom,
film.
Everything I've ever made. Every film I've ever made.
Why is that, do you think?
I think because we work outside the box. I think because I am a particular language that I own, it's mine, and it offends some critics. I think, to be fair, when I test, I never get old white guys. Now I'm an old white guy, so I'm in the club. But,
not such an old white guy.
Well, I'm pretty old, but the point is that the guys that mainly do criticism, they will be very serious about Iron Man, which is good. I love Iron Man. But they'll talk about Iron Man like it's Hamlet.
You did get those negative reviews, but then you've opened in the United States and your box office has been unbelievable, more than I think the takings of your other films in your first weekend.
By far.
In your first weekend.
No, this morning internationally we were #1 in the world against Iron Man and
So do you see that
Star Trek.
as an up yours to the critics?
Not really up. I mean, I can't get too drawn into that. You know, I can't complain about that. I worry about everyone's effort, commitment, passion being squandered before the audience have a chance to make their own mind up. And let me tell you, I often think of giving up. Retirement, here I come.
Would you really retire though?
Sure, I think about it every day. I'm thinking about it. You know, Sim and I are overwhelmed with creative possibilities and opportunity. Like, there's in every medium. We're doing Strictly Ballroom, the musical, here next year, so I can't retire before then.
You've given a lot to the Australian film industry because you've shot a lot of stuff here. With the high Australian dollar currently, is it still economical to shoot stuff here?
It's very difficult. I mean, what we need to understand about the tax situation, because again you see naive writing by commentators who don't do their homework. It's not that the Australian taxpayer is giving us money, it's that it wouldn't have existed anyway. I bring $100 to Australia to do industry, and what happens is, you know, I'm given back the tax we would have paid if we spend the $100. But of the money we spend, everybody I employ, they're taxed. So there is a gain to the country. It has been hard, the high American dollar. I think the dollar's weakening again, but...
Will you still keep shooting here?
The crews, the creatives, the people, the passion, the city, that's all magnificent. It's a little bit tricky with the bringing well-known people here. We used to be really cool with that. It's getting a bit, it really got in the way, you know?
Did you feel with your Gatsby actors that
Yeah, it just really got in the way. I mean, the rules are different. You can photograph someone in their underpants in this city, and you can't do it in the States. So it got to a point where we were like, oh, come on, we're just trying to... Look, no problem with a bit of snapparazzi and he's on the beach and all of that, but it got to a point where it was like, just making it was a bit uncool and not Australian, I thought. Just with sort of a bit... We were always a very relaxed country about celebrity, and I think we've lost a bit of that. Just my own view.
You've had a long career and you've been successful.
Yes,
high
I'm very
profile.
old, it's true.
You've been successful for a long time, so a lot's been written about you. So I want to give you a quick lightning round of true and false, just so we can establish what's right and what's not right.
No problem.
All right, your mum was an extra in The Great Gatsby and in every other film you've made?
I think so. I mean, she was definitely in Gatsby. Yeah, pretty sure.
Marlon Brando wrote to you to ask for a role in Romeo and Juliet?
He wrote to me, I have 7 or 5 letters. He was doing it. And dear Baz Luhrmann, I'm going to play the role of Tybalt, of Father Lawrence. At some point he thought he was going to play Tybalt, but it was very close to Brando being in the film.
You turned down directing James Bond and Harry Potter films?
Sure, it was Steven Spielberg, I think, was originally going to do it, and I got a call, and Robert said, my agent said, look, please, would you consider Harry Potter? I said, what's that? He said, it's on the cover of Time magazine. I said, look, I'm in the middle of writing this thing called Moulin Rouge.
David Bowie has walked your dogs?
You know, I don't want to get into that just because I feel silly that got out there.
You do a very mean impersonation of Bill Clinton.
I don't know if it's mean, and I couldn't do it now. My voice is not
good one,
right.
I mean.
Well, that's up to people to decide. But I know Mr. President. I didn't know you called the ex-president president until I met Bill the first time. But I do know Bill.
Well, come on, you got to let us hear it.
No, I can't do Bill. I mean, I have to tell the story, so I don't know. I'm not going to do that.
Baz Luhrmann, thank you so much for making time for us.
It was really nice to talk to you.
Thank you.
Cool.